All right, so I think everyone's coming in again. So please mute your microphones. All right, so we're gonna work on 10.8. All right, and like I said, so today, reminders, the exam is on Tuesday, and then also for those that came in a little late, exam is on Tuesday. You can check the calendar there, November 10th. Exam is comprehensive, very similar to exam 1. And then otherwise, today I'm not going to assign any new homework. And instead, I'm just going to give you guys a review. So someone asked me to work on 10.8. All right, so that should be pretty fun. So let's take a look at it. So do you have a question in particular about it, or something that you?
I didn't even know where to start on it, like on the actual code.
Okay, all right, that's fine. So let's, we can just break it up. Let's see. So sales report. Brewster's Used Cars, Inc. employs several salespeople. Brewster, the owner of the company, has provided a file that contains sales records for each salesperson for the past month. Okay. So sales records for each salesperson. Each record in the file contains the following 2 fields. Okay, simple enough. The salesperson. Getting some people in. The salesperson, or the salesperson's ID number as an integer, and the amount of a sale as a real number. And that would be for the past month. So I guess they got a file for every month. And then, the records are already sorted by ID. The records are already sorted by ID, okay. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Brewster wants you to design a program that prints a sales report. The report should show each salesperson's sales and the total sales for that salesperson. Okay. The report should also show the total sales for all salespeople for the month. Here's an example of how the sales report should appear. Brewster Used Car Inc. Sales report, salesperson ID. Okay. They've got their ID there. It would make sense for this to have a date. I don't know why they don't, but it's fine. Sales amount, total sales for the salesperson. So that would be 27,000. Then salesperson 101. Okay. Simple enough. So what do we need? We need a file, correct?
Correct.
Let's start with that. So I'm going to go to the folder, right? So you should go to your folder. Guys, can you please mute your microphones? So I'm going to go to the folder. So let me share my folder. Next, you should be seeing, this is your folder on your desktop, I assume. Right click, new, some text file, and then Brewster. Sales, car sales, I guess. Right? And so we have that one. And then now I'm going to go ahead and open this with WordPad. All right, and so I need to have, so the IDs seem to be in the 100 range. So 100, comma. Can you guys dictate to me the
we can't see your notepad.
You can't see your own? Oh, no. Yeah, right. That's right. You can't see my notepad. Sorry. All right, you should be seeing my notepad now. But what I mean is, could you give me the values that you see in that little picture? So it's like 100. I think it was like 10,000, right? Wasn't it?
So
It was 100, I believe, 3 times, and then it was 101 3 times and 102 3 times.
Right, but they had values, right? They had, these were real numbers.
so the first one was 100 and then 10,000, then 100 and 12,000.
Okay, so it was just 100.
No, that was 10,000.
Oh, okay.
Then the next one was 12,000,
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
and then 5,000.
Okay. Doesn't matter the order. I'm just, I like to write things like this. All right, and then you just keep going. What was the other ID?
101.
Because it does say that they are sorted, right? So we can do it like this.
Then 14,000. Then 18,000.
101.
Correct.
Um,
Then for 101, 12,500.
12,500.
Correct.
Okay, and then
102, 13,500. 102, 14,500.
14,700.
No, 500.
500. So, okay.
And then 102, 20,000.
20. Is that the last one?
Yes.
Okay, so if you notice in the file, make sure, like I would move the cursor, look at the cursor, right? So when it goes like this, it just moves to the next line. So I'm making sure there's no spaces or anything like that, right? So you always want to be kind of careful with that. So there's no spaces whatsoever. Okay, and then here it should just move down, but not move up. Yeah. On my computer. All right, so that's the data, pretty easy. And then I have this over here. So now I'm gonna close it. All right, oops. And I'm going to start up the Jupyter Notebook. And then I'm gonna share that with you guys. So I need to share Brewster. There we go. So you should now be seeing Brewster's, or the Jupyter Notebook. The Brewster file is there, Brewster's sales.txt. So now I'm going to create a Python script. Okay, and now we can, what's the first thing that you would want to do here? Read the file, right? That's pretty much, don't you think? So create a variable file fn, some name, whatever you want it to be. Open. What was the name of the text file? Brewster sales.txt. Comma, do we want to read or write?
Read.
Exactly. That's it, and then look at how easy it is. For line in, and then here's the trick. You say if underscore in dot read lines. So handy, right? You just do that. You have all the lines in your text file. Now it's like you have a list. You created a list of them in this one.
I got a
And then
question.
now,
So like when I was doing the homework and I went to open my file, It'll say like
Speak up
files.
a little bit louder. Can you speak up a little bit louder, please?
Oh, when I was doing the homework,
Yes.
I would get the error. And it'll say like file was not in a directory, so I have to create the plain text on Jupyter Notebook, and then it read from there. But if I put in File Explorer, it wouldn't find it.
Yeah, it's probably that you just weren't in the right place. So if you notice what I did when I did the Jupyter, you see how I have this? Can you see the Jupyter file structure?
Yeah,
My file is there. You see that?
yeah. That's what I had to do. I had to make it inside Jupyter.
You have it needs to appear here, which basically means what I did, right? That I put it in that folder. So that's why I show you always the folder, right? So if I go to this, that's the folder. See, the address is on my desktop. I have a folder called ITS 140, and I just make sure that I always put everything in 140. Do you see that?
Yeah.
So the text file is there, and if I go now to the Jupyter listing, you can see I'm in desktop 140, and then there's Brewster's sales. Do you see that?
Yeah, I see it.
The other alternative would be to right-click on the file in the folder and just get the full path of it, you know, like the full address of it. And you could also put the whole address here, like C dot dot whatever, you know, wherever it takes you. Make sense?
Yep.
Okay. All right, good. So now, if you notice, as I was saying, F read lines is equivalent to, I mean, you don't want to really do it like this, but, you know, let's say lines list would be equal to that, you see? And then you could just put lines list here. And then that way you can now iterate through that list. So that's what you should understand about this, okay? So anyway, we have this. So now let's just go ahead and print the lines. You know, that's easily what I always do. You know, just make sure some things are working before I start doing anything more complex. You see, just 3 lines of code, I'm way ahead. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and run it. There you go. You guys see that?
Yeah.
So do you understand? I mean, I'm going to finish the problem, but I'm just saying, you know, does this make more sense now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty straightforward. This is actually something you have to do on your project, right? You know, one of the things I'm going to ask you. That's why, you know, we're at a point in the semester where, as I said, everything we've done so far, we've covered all the basics now, and everything left, it's really like add-on things that are, let's say, the second stage. And so I'd rather you guys master these fundamental concepts, and I'm willing to just continue doing this for the rest of the semester, maybe throwing a little bit of what do you call it, additional topics, but these are the fundamentals up until here. Everything else, object-oriented, obviously is very important, but it's an advanced topic. Recursion, it's an advanced topic. GUIs are just a nice thing. Sorting arrays, I mean, that's data structured things. You'll cover that in another class. So, but, you know, really at this point, what is essential is for you to cover, or master rather, you need to master these 10 chapters. And, you know, when I say master, don't feel discouraged if you're like, oh my God, I don't master this. Nobody does, you know, in the beginning. Programming is just a thing where it takes practice, a lot of practice. That's why you have some type of programming course every semester until the end. It's going to be where the focus is not programming, but you will see, you know, you're always programming a little bit here and there. And I'm telling you, these fundamentals apply to every programming language. When you take your C class, the syntax will be harder, but the concepts are all going to be the same. So don't worry about it. Eventually, you'll love it. I mean, eventually, because you'll appreciate the era that you live in. You know, this is definitely the skill. All right, so let's finish it up then. So what else do we need to do? We need to group them, right? We need to group them by and total them by user. We only had IDs and values, no names, if I remember correctly. I can look. Yeah, so we have that, and we have some kind of header that's pretty easy to do. Okay. Let's go ahead and okay. All right, so what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna print the header. And I'm just gonna say print, and for now I'm just gonna leave it like header. You know, Brewster's car sales. And then sales report. Okay. And then now we're going to print. We need to now, the trick is we need to do what? What do we need to do? We need to split, right? Remember we were doing this on Monday or Tuesday. So I'm going to create a temp array, and it's going to be a list. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to take the line dot split. Remember that it splits on space by default. So then I need to indicate that I want to split by what?
Is it a comma?
Is a comma, right? But we have a problem in the fact that there are two commas. Do you see that?
Yeah, so could you just go back to the text file and get rid of the comma?
I could. That's certainly one way of doing it. It's certainly one way of doing it. But so you guys know that we could do that, right? So let's do something else then. Let's split on, what else could we split on? Could we split on space? We do, right? All of them have space. You see that? So actually, let's not split on comma here. Let's split on space. It makes more sense. We are going to have those commas in there, but we can get rid of them. So let's try that. So now I'm going to say, since I'm splitting by this, I'm not going to print line anymore. I'm just going to print the list. I'm going to say temp array. Okay, so now we're going to run this one again. You know, sometimes there's a lot of ways of solving something. Solve it the easiest way. That's, you know, that would be my recommendation. All right. So what else do we need to do now? We need to take out, notice that we have those values in an array, right? Whenever you do a split, it basically splits those items into an array. So the first thing I probably want to do is I want to take each individual value into a variable. So I'm just going to say ID, right? And that's going to be what? How do I assign what's in the array to ID? How do I do that? Somebody tell me that, please.
Would it be the index 0?
Index 0 of what? You're right, but index 0 of what?
Temp array?
Yes, perfect. 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 Exactly right. Okay, so then let's do that. Okay, so that's gonna be temp array 0. Perfect. What about then sales? What would that one be?
Index 1 of temporary.
Exactly right. Very good. All right, so now what's one thing we want to get rid of? We want to get rid of that comma, so let's print now. Now we need to do 2 print statements instead of just one. So I'm going to do print, oops, sorry. I'm going to do print ID. And actually, I'm going to change that ID to be ID val, because I don't like it that it turned green there. I'm going to do ID val. And then I'm also going to do print sales, right? And so now let's clear here. All right, and you can see that it's printing things, right, in order now, but there's that comma here and so on. So let's, first of all, let's see this one, maybe we can just do a float and convert everything automatically. So let's try that one. All right, so that should be an easy fix. Right, so it doesn't like it, could not convert string to float, probably because of the comma. It just doesn't like it. Okay, so then what do? How do you get rid of characters? Do you guys remember that? Sales.replace, right? And then we try to replace the comma with what? Nothing, right? And we assign that back to sales. Okay, so let's try this and see if that works. Oh, it should be actually. It should be this one, right? So temp array 1. Right, so temp array 1, replace comma with nothing and assign it to sales. And then we're going to take sales and make it float. So let's try that. What do you guys think? Do you think it worked?
Yep.
Do you have any questions about what I just did? Or is it clear?
I think it's clear.
All right, so you guys think it's clear, that's good. All right, I'm gonna, just for presentation, I think there were some lines or something. What was the symbol used? It's equal signs, actually. And then there was a space here, and then sales ID and sales amount. So I'm gonna add that in there as well. So this was a space, I think, and then print sales ID, and then just space it out. Sales. And then after that, I think there was an equal sign. Print okay, so that should make this a little bit more presentable. The other thing I probably want to do is add spaces here just so that it looks more readable. I'm gonna do a couple of prints. There are other ways of doing this, but that's just, you know, easiest, I guess. Okay, so now let's run it. All right, you see it looks a little bit more presentable now. Brewster's car sales, sales report, sales ID, sales. You can always, that should be employee ID, I guess. Right, and then you can see things are starting to look a little bit better. So probably change this to employee ID. Okay, all right, good, good. So now let's go ahead and do what? We need to present the values in order. And then we need to total them, right? So that's one of the things. So we already have this as a float. So now the way that we want to print this is probably not like this. So I'm going to get rid of one of these. And instead, we want to, let's just say, line item. I'm going to call it line item, right? That's the thing that I'm going to print. So then let's see, line item will be, and again, this can be done in several ways, but I'm going to say curly bracket, curly bracket. So these are two placeholders, and then I'm going to say dot format. And then in here, I can plug in the values. So I can plug in ID underscore val, comma, that should be lowercase, comma, sales. All right, and so they would appear on this string here. Okay, so let's try that. So these two should plug in this one in order, and then this one. That's what the curly brackets are for. Those are called format strings. So let's try that. Run it. All right, and it's there. It looks a little bit better. Why is the comma still there? I thought I got rid of it. Oh, I haven't gotten rid of the comma, have I? So if you notice here in the ID val, I could easily just do dots, replace. So before I assign it, I just get rid of it. So I'm gonna take the comma and replace it with nothing. There you go. So now I run this one. Now I run it. You see that? I got rid of the comma. Everything looks a little bit more presentable. Obviously, I need to align it a little bit more because, you know, all I have to do is move this a little bit further. I can put the $ in front already. Okay, and then oops. Let's see. And then now, if I clear this. All right, so run it. You see that, guys? Any questions so far?
Yeah, I just have a quick question.
Go ahead, please.
So whenever I try to display the text file, it starts from like the second line and it cuts off the first line whenever I print it.
Interesting. And you're following exactly what I did.
Well, I haven't done this one. When I was doing the other homework, it would cut off the first line and it would only start from the second line. Everything would display except for the first line.
How are you doing it? I mean, can you share your screen? You have it with you there?
Yeah, let me just look for it.
Okay, just put it in the chat or something. If I take a look at it, it'll be easier for me to understand what's going on. If you can show me the, what's in the text file and the code itself, okay? All right, so the other thing is, you guys, if you look at this, you see that there's no spaces in between the line items, right? But here, we've got spaces. So how do we get rid of those spaces? So what's going on is that in the text file, remember, there is a new line character at the end of every line. So what we need to do is that sales, basically, because we split the whole line into ID, val, and sales, sales does still have that new line character. So if I just do dot replace, remember the new line character looks like this, and I replace it with nothing, right? So hopefully that should take care of it. Let's try it. Okay. And then now, obviously these two spaces are wrong here. Okay, for now. So I'm going to take those out. Do this, run it. And there you go. Now it looks a little bit better, but still we're not finished. Right? So what do we need to do now? What does the problem say?
All right, I got it now. Do you want me to share the screen still?
Yeah, if you. Yeah.
Okay.
Are you the one that asked about this question or the other question?
Oh no, I just asked about the first line not displaying.
Yeah, so it's another problem, correct?
Yeah, it's the same problem.
Is it what? Didn't catch that last part. All right, so you can share your screen.
All right.
Okay.
So I'm gonna try to run in, and only it starts from the second line, as you can see in the text file.
Well, you only notice what you did. I'm looking at, you did sales file dot read line. Do you see that?
Yeah,
How many lines do you have in your text file?
4.
4. So
Yeah.
instead of this, just do the following. In where the second line, number 2, where it says line equals sales file dot line, just add an S and say read lines. Okay, then the way that you're doing it now,
Okay.
for line in sales file, you should have done sales file dot read lines there. But instead, what you can do, just not to change your code, is go to where you have number 2 again, line, and change the name from line to line underscore list. And now that list will contain all the lines in sales report. You see that? Now go to the for loop, and what would you do? For line in
Line list. And that should work now if I print it. Yeah, it does.
So does this make sense now to you?
Yeah, that works now. Yeah.
Any other questions?
Now I kind of have the polar opposite of his question. Like for one, the homework was like, I find the largest number in the file and keep it. So I get it where it finds the largest number, but it'll print again. So it'll be like, all right, there was 30. And then I'll read the next line. It's like 33 is higher. And it'll still say 33 is higher, but it'll print it it's higher again.
You have
Instead of like just stopping at it's 33 and no more.
You want to share your screen? Do you have your code there? Did you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you. I'm about to pull it up.
Okay. So is that going to take a while or?
No, I already have Jupyter up. It shouldn't take that long.
Okay. All right. So let's look at his, and then we will come back to Brewster's.
Do you see it?
Yes.
So, like, I have it. I just put the small, put the F as small just to know I have it. But I put the largest, and 33 is the largest of the file. But it prints again at many number of lines that I have, and I just wanted to stop at 33.
Can you show me the?
Yeah, all right. Give me a sec. Give me a second. I should be still on my Jupyter right quick. Oops, I didn't mean to stop. I did not mean to stop sharing, but I'm about to go to it. Number that. Well, man. There you go. Share screen. Do you see it?
I see a black. Okay.
Still?
All right. So you have 32, 33, 3, and 32.
32. And it's saying it right because,
Find the highest number, 33, and that's it.
yeah. And so I have it and it reads it and it says 33. And it stops at 33 because it tells that that's the highest, but it keeps printing 4 times as the number of the lines. And I don't know.
Yeah. So let's look at you have main, okay, name file, number dad, read, name file. The name file, you do a read line, number of lines, 0, total, largest and smallest.
I just create a function so like it can easily.
You're doing the same thing that the other student did. I would just recommend that you do name file dot read line, because that gives you already. I mean, all the data that we are working with, you know, and the computers of today, you can just easily grab all that data in. But just put in read lines there.
With an S?
Yeah.
Read lines.
And then that line, obviously, because the bottom one is going to be called line, just call it like data list or something. Instead of line, data underscore list. And you're going to iterate through that. Not going to change anything in your for loop. Just change that name,
Right here.
the main. Change that name from line to like, just say it, data list, data underscore list. You don't have to use so many uppercase D's like that. It's gonna.
Yeah.
All right, or cause more errors, I guess. All right, so data list, right? And then now in the for loop, you would do for line in data list. So you iterate through the items in the data list that you just read from name file dot read line. Does this make sense? So this will be the best way because now you'll have all those numbers in there.
Mhm.
The next, so now let's see. Hmm. See, you're doing all these line strips several times. What I would have just done is I would have just done line equal line strip. You did it once, you're done. It would make for a lot simpler code. You see what I'm saying? A lot cleaner. And then you would just say if largest int less than, because you initialize them to 0, right? So you're looking for the largest. If
Yeah.
largest int less than line, then largest int is line. If smallest int is greater, which is 0, greater than line, then smallest int is line. And then line equals, okay, so that line name file dot read line, that's wrong. Get rid of that.
Yeah, because it's gonna be data list now, right?
Yeah, I mean the whole thing, just get rid of that whole line. You only need to read once. You don't have to read a whole bunch of times. The name file dot close, I'm glad that you closed it, but you're closing it many times in the for loop. Do you see that? You only need to close a file once at the very end. So the indentation, move it to the left, right? So it needs to be outside of the loop. And the same applies for that print statement. That should be outside, of, not so outside. I mean, because
Yeah,
you're,
yeah.
remember, you're in a function main.
So
Yeah.
and then print should be at the same level.
Yes. There you go. So now these two are outside of the loop. And really, you just have the largest sequence in the, because you read from the file to memory, and then you do everything in memory. You close the file when you're done, and really you could have closed the file, you know, after you did the read lines. So now run this. Go ahead and run this.
Now it's not printing. It's reading it, but now it's not printing largest int.
It should be 0.
Print largest int.
Int. Its largest int is initialized to 0. So if you have a print of largest int,
Mm-hmm.
it should just print it.
It was. I don't know why it's not printing now. I just printed it.
Okay. Okay, there's, it gives you an error. That's better. So scroll up.
All right.
But the issue is it's not finding your file now.
Let's not find the file again.
You see the error? No such file or directory?
Yeah. It should be the same. No, that's not the right one.
Where is it? No, go to the folder where you have these files. You need to go to that folder.
See, when I was doing it, I had it kept it under the Jupyter folder where.
See, go to the previous script. Go to the previous script. The one that we were just working on.
Okay. The one we was just doing. This one?
That's not the one.
Wait, which one? The one I was just, this one here? The number that?
Yes, but go to the code, not to the file.
Go to the code.
Mhm.
I can barely see with this thing over there. Right here?
Okay, yeah.
what? It'd be right.
The problem is, you don't save things appropriately. You know what I mean? So that's what the issue is with you, is that that's why I said always start at a folder and work in that folder. Whenever you start the Jupyter notebook, it allows you to navigate to your folders. So do you have a folder where you have your Jupyter notebooks?
Yeah, I do. I totally do.
So this is a common problem that I see with students, and they refuse to do this, and and that's there. See that ITS 140, you should always be in there. So scroll down on here. Number.dat, is that the file?
No, this is the other one for the other problem.
But what I would recommend is that you put all your files in there. So do this. Go back to that listing.
Back to the code.
Back to the listing that we just saw.
Okay. This one here.
Listing where it listed all the files.
Oh, gotcha. Gotcha. This one, right?
There. All right. This is where you should always be working. So when you go to the new, so you come here first, right? You come. Now, go to that new at the top. Python 3.
Make a new notebook.
What happened?
It's loading.
So when it opens this script will be in 140. You understand? You just took care of it. Every time you hit save, it's saving it in 140. So now what you have to do is you have to put that text file also in 140. So open your File Explorer now and navigate in File Explorer to that 140 folder. Okay, navigate to 140. Is that the one that, the only one that you have, correct? The one that we were seeing?
Yep, ITS 140.
Okay, so in there now, right click, go in there, if that's the only one, and right click in there and create the file, numbers.dat. Right click, new.
Ooh, text document.
Give it the appropriate name.
Numbers.dat.
Now open it with WordPad. Not Notepad. Get into. I think it'll be better if you
Put it in. Okay, so don't put in the text. Put in the rich text file.
No, yeah, just WordPad or here. I mean, it's fine. So do 32. What were the enter 33 was the other one? Correct?
Yeah, 32, 33, 3, and 30.
Do that, please.
All right.
Okay.
Save.
So this file, is in the 140 folder. So now go to your navigation on the Jupyter. Go to the directory listing that we were looking at before.
This one, right?
Okay, that's the 140, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So is your text file that you just created, is it in here? Maybe refresh or something.
I'll refresh in there right quick.
Look for it.
No.
Numbers.data at the bottom. Click on that one.
This is. Yeah, this is the one I use for the former problem.
So,
See you.
right, get out of there. Why is this? Go back.
All right.
yeah, click on
SES 145.
oh, okay, go to desktop. See, there's a desktop folder at the top. Click on that one.
All right, there you go.
You have
And
two.
there it is.
That's the problem. See, these kinds of errors, you really always need to be very sure of where you are, okay? Because otherwise you're just kind of hurting yourself, right, by not knowing. Notice also that you don't have the extensions enabled. So that's why your file is called numbers.dat.txt. By default, the extension was txt, but it wasn't showing. You see that?
Yeah.
Click on this file. This will be the data file that you have.
Yep.
Yeah, so close it. Close that. So now your code, what you probably want to do is just create a new Jupyter here. So you always go to desktop 140. You know that's the place. You know how to get to it from the file explorer also, right? So now
Yeah.
type on here and now copy that code that you had in that other Jupyter in here, the one we were working on. Are you doing that?
Yeah.
So
So this is it.
that code into a new Jupyter that's going to be in 140. That's the key thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now notice that the file name is different. You called it numbers.dat.txt, so you have to reflect that.
So you gotta put it as,
You have to because of the
yeah.
extension. What I would say is that's why you saw me in one of the previous videos that I said enable extensions on your file explorer. Wasn't it numbers? Is it number or numbers?
Numbers. Yes.
Okay. Run this, see if it finds the file now.
Yep, there you go.
There we go. See that? Does it make sense?
Yep.
Okay. Any additional questions for me?
No, that was it.
Okay. All right.
Oh,
Okay.
let me stop sharing, right?
Yeah. So now we're going to finish up the other one, right? So I think we were in the other one. So let me share my screen. All right. So the plan is now I need to change this. So what do I still need to do? I need to, well, we can look at the,
You need to make it so that each ID has a total sales.
right, the total sales. And then, all right. So what helps us a lot here is the fact that the numbers are already sorted. If they weren't sorted, we would have to sort them first because this algorithm that I'm going to implement only works if the numbers are sorted, okay? So that's the key thing. So I'm going to create a variable called control ID. Okay, and so, and I'm just thinking here. So I'm just gonna, I'm in the loop. Every time I have an ID, I need to make a decision, right, about what I want to do. So I want, I don't want to, I want to print every iteration. That's something that I do want to do. Sales actually can be replaced here. So, and sales can be float here. It's really around here that I need to decide what to do. So control ID is actually a string. We don't need to change it into an integer because, you know, it's a string. So it works as a string. We don't need to do any calculations. So I'm going to say, and I need a running total. So I need a total per ID. Oops, per ID. And that's going to be a float. Okay, so now what do I do? If every iteration, if ID val, which would be the current ID val, is equal to control ID, if they're the same, I add sales to the running total. So I'm going to say total per ID is going to be total per ID plus what? Sales. That I do that every time. And I also can print. I'm actually just going to move that there. And I'm printing. Else, they're not the same, which means I probably moved to another one, right? I probably moved to another one. So what do? I make ID val now be the, not ID val, sorry, control. I make control ID becomes ID val. Okay, for this new iteration. I also need to make total ID, no, total per ID equal to what? To sales, to the current sales. All right, and then initially, when I do this, yeah, that should work. So ID val initially. Actually, control ID initially will be 100. Okay, so that should work. So I start at 100, and then I say if ID val, which will be 100, equal control ID, which is 100. Then what do? I total, so I add the sales, I print it. Next iteration, ID val is still 100, which is control ID. Okay, so I grab the second one. I increment total per ID with the new sales. Okay. Third iteration, ID val still 100. Still 100. Compare it to control ID, which is 100. Still matches. Add it, print it. Next iteration, else, or next iteration, now it is 101. So control ID is still 100. ID val is 101. So we go to the else. Control ID now becomes ID val. Total per ID becomes sales, right? And then we just need to print the value. So this print statement actually can be outside. It doesn't have to be. Okay. See that? So that's basically what I'm going to try here. Oops. And I'm going to get rid of this. And then I still need to print the total, and the total should be printed really when there's a transition. So when there's the transition, I should print out the total. So I'm going to do print This is total. This should be curly brackets. And then here's dot format. And the input will be total per ID. Oh, actually, needs to happen before I make the change. So it's going to be total per ID. And I'm going to move this one down. All right, so that's just me trying it out. Now let's see how it behaves. Okay. So let's clear. All right, so let's run. Okay. So does this look correct? What do you guys think? What's 30?
For some reason, you're missing the total for ID 102.
Oh, okay, yeah. So the only, but the other two are correct, right? The other two look right. Okay, so the logic seems to be okay. And then what happened to the last one? Let's see. We didn't print that last one. When we did the transition, the 102, there was no 103. That's the problem. You see, there was no 103. So it didn't print the last one. But the value is probably there. The value would be in total per ID. If ID val, there was just no last ID val. That was the problem. So there was no ID val. It probably didn't even go into the for loop. So that means that the value of total per ID should still be in memory. And so I'm just going to try here, print. Well, actually, just so I can print out the last one, which should be in memory still. So let's try that. All right. So the last one, let's see, is it correct? 20,000, 40,000, 47,000, 48,000. There you go. It does work. And that the problem was that there for that last one to have printed using this logic, we would have needed to have a 103, right? So a 103 would have gone in this code and done the last print. But there is no 103. It stops at 102. Therefore, it didn't go into that for loop for that last print. That's why we need to have, but because it was stored in the global variable here, we could still go and just print it out at the end. So really now, what we have left is just kind of the, oh, there has to be a total of all sales as well at the end. Okay, so how do we do it? So that one should be easy, right? What's the total? We just have to create another variable called total all sales. Initialize it to 0 first. And then every time we do this, basically just add to total all sales, but not in the if statement. Just pretty much here, total all sales. Total all sales should be, total all sales plus sales. And then at the end here, we just have to print out total sales, right? This will only print once at the end. I keep making this up. This total per user, and this should be total sales. And then I'm just going to add here a space. I'll make it a little bit more presentable. So now let's go ahead and clear this one. All right, all right. Okay, so that doesn't, not, this print should not go there. It should go here, probably. Just a little bit better. Okay, so now I'm going to clear it again. All right. Okay, that looks a little bit better. What do you guys think? The total should be 119,500, right? That should be, and there it is, 119,500. The other totals are 48,000, 44,500, and 27,000. And that's it. Any questions? Questions, guys?
Yeah, for some reason, I'm getting, this is the total at the very top. Like, I'm getting 4 totals for the salesman.
Do you want to share your screen?
Sure.
Probably easier.
It says I can't share it.
Go ahead.
Does that work?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So there's like, this is the total here.
Okay. So 27 is correct, 44 is correct, 48 is correct, 119 is correct. So you're getting all the values. You just have that line there. That's the only problem.
Correct.
Yeah. So then scroll up a little. Just get rid. You must have a print statement in there.
Is it this?
Let me think about it. Run the kernel there and clear everything and run it again. I'm actually not seeing where that, yeah. I'm not seeing, yeah, run it. Why are you, if ID value, else. Oh, I think I know why. Scroll up, scroll up. Yeah, it's the initialization. You initialized it to 0. I initialized it to, or sorry, you initialized it to blank. I initialized it to 100.
Oh, so this should be 100.
You would have, because they're in order. So the way that it would work is because they are in order, you would have to grab the first ID and put it there, but we can just type it.
Okay.
It was the if condition. If it was 0, it was thinking there was nothing there, but it was still printing. Now it fixes it.
All right. Thank you.
All right. So we can go back to sharing the screen. And as you can see, this solves pretty much the file system script. Is this clear for everyone, guys? Are there any additional questions about this problem? Any questions? All right, so if there are no, so this question then is done. So like I said, today is just no homework today because you have your exam on Tuesday, your written exam, very similar to the previous one. So really just ask any questions you have, remember the exam is comprehensive. So I'll be here if you have anything further. Otherwise, you can log off if you'd like, but as I said, I'll be here until, if you have any additional questions.